generations, across cultures, and across experiences. And that's exactly what we hope to do today. Connect, exchange, and celebrate literature.
I think it's indeed a moment of pride for all of us to have two novelists and four poets because people in literature and in academia know what it means to put your work in the printed format. We are talking about digital media and all the other alternate medias, but it's still there's a certain sanctity to see your name and your work, particularly creative writing, independently also like what Sagar and Gordon have done, and it might even be as an anthology, but to just see your poem, to just see your novel right there in the printed form. And considering that I've been part of, from what they told me, it is an investment of almost 2 years, 1 to 2 years after the draft. So they started writing the draft somewhere, that took almost a year I think, and after that to go and find publishers and to get the work published and then promoted now. So I thought it would be a little contribution from the department and the college side to just invite everybody here and provide a platform here to launch. And most importantly, we have Gordon's grandmom in the audience. She is also here to celebrate Gordon's work. And we have Shania, Rachel's friend, who has also joined us. And all these students, part 1 and part 2 students, after their dissertation presentations, after their exams, I know that it takes a lot to sacrifice your summer break and sleep, wanted to sleep and come here and work for almost a week. I think Sagar was the one who insisted, ma'am, we have to do this. And I said, okay, let us do it. And everybody, we are going to have student-led sessions also here. You will see the kind of work that they have invested. So I welcome everybody, and it's indeed a very happy moment and a proud moment. So I hope you have a very fruitful session.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to see very super senior citizen present in the audience for the release of the book. There is no greater agony than being the story untold inside you. Maya and you. With that line, let me start appreciating the efforts of our budding writers today at this formal book launch. Every person has a different tale to tell in his or her unique style, using a different form of creative expression. Today, we are all gathered here to applaud our student. Novelist Mr. Gordon Pires, name of the novel, The Loneliest Man. And Mr. Sagar Das, name of the novel, Roller Coaster. And our budding poets, Rachel Coutinho, Riba Shah, Yash Kirkar, and Mercy Jones. For them becoming authors and poets in their own style. I urge the Department of English, like the fountain of this beginning, never run dry. May you sail to the eyes of greatness beyond blue. My sincere wishes for them to shine further in the near future. Congratulations once again. Thank you so much.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the official book launch ceremony. I request Sharad sir, Principal sir and Ambika ma'am to kindly come forward to officially release the books. Let's give them a big round of applause. What a proud moment this is. the culmination of dedication, imagination, and many months of effort, now in your hands as this beautifully crafted book. I invite Ms. Ashwini Gaonkar to facilitate the conversation with our very own authors, Gordon Pires and Sagar Gawaz. Let's welcome them on the stage with a round of applause.
So the year 2025 has witnessed emergence of many authors and poets from our English department. And today I have this opportunity to introduce two of these friends, that is Sagar Gawaz and Gordon Pires. So I'm going to dive in their writing process and make this opportunity a success. Okay. So starting with my first question, it's for you, Gordon. Gordon, when I saw you in college, you were always a person like I was thought that he is a happy-go-lucky person. But when I read your book, it was completely contradictory to my perspective. So, what inspired you to write a book that would explore the darker side of human emotions?
Well, everyone knows that I'm little happy finish and participate a lot, going to events, and I've been recognized at those events. But when I write, I don't know what is this. There is like this inner voice that constantly like tells me that there is suffering in the human world. And when I read such books like Kafka, Dostoevsky, Camus, these are such absurdist books that sometimes they don't make sense. But even when they don't make sense, I find meaning in them. And I try to write about them, I try to write like them, because I love existential writing. And because it helps people find meaning in their life. So if anyone ever can find meaning in their life through my book, I would feel very happy. Because it is through sadness that sometimes you can find happiness.
Very well said. As far as Sagar is concerned, I'm not going to ask you what inspired you because being your peer right from college, I know you always wanted to be a writer. And I think when we were in TY, you started working on roller coasters. So, how did you manage your studies with writing work? Because our TYs were very hectic, including our projects and our ISAs. So, how did you manage that?
Thank you for the question, Ashwini. It was a very hectic schedule when we were in July, of course. If I recollect correctly, then I started writing the roller coaster right from the month of June, when internship started. So, going to the internship, then having whenever I got a free time, I used to write there. And then when I used to come back from the internship at home, I used to set a deadline for myself. Like, for example, if it's a Sunday, then I would set a deadline like at the end of the day, for example, at the 7 p.m. tonight, I'll at least finish one chapter. Right? I'll at least finish writing one chapter. So it kind of put pressure on me, not in a negative way, but in a good way, which can, help me to write the work fast, along as well as with accuracy. So that pressure helped me a lot. So Kedar sir, he has shaped me into what I'm doing now. So the pressure thing I learned from him. So put pressure on yourself and to get things done is what I follow. Is what I followed while writing my roller coaster. And yes, writing lessons there at the same time, answering your ISAs, also doing video teaching in schools. It was very schedule. But I believe there are two things. There are two things that drives a person to love and the other thing is passion. So it had drove me crazy. So it was hectic, but I managed it.
title is The Loneliest Man, as you can see. And I was pondering the title. The original title of my work was The Man, simply just The Man. But then I thought that if I highlight this quality about him, it will make people ponder even more deeper. So then I started thinking like, what makes a person lonely? And there were many definitions that were available to me, but then I interpreted it for myself, and I thought that you are lonely when you have no one who understands you. But you are lonely when you talk to people, but they don't understand you. So you become more lonelier, but then you have memories. But what makes you the loneliest is when you don't even have memories to go back to, when you don't have good nostalgic memories that you can look back on and think for yourself. So that is the man over here, the man Simon. That is a borrowed name for him. He doesn't have any memories that he can even go back to, which causes him to for me to give this title to him that he's the loneliest man.
So continuing with that, you said the man Simon does not have any memory. So why in the first place you deprived him of memory?
I really thought like very deeply about this. Like, what is a challenge for me to write? And previously, I had posted 6 stories on Wattpad, and they were sort of challenging to write. Of course, all stories are challenging to write. But I thought to myself that I should really challenge myself in a way that I cannot describe a character. So when you go online for summaries, there are character descriptions. What if I write a character that has no descriptions? So because of which, I had to study a lot about amnesia. I had to study traumatic studies, and I constantly was like, when I was writing this after my TY break, I constantly was going back and forth on American medical journals, learning about how trauma, how amnesia can affect your memories. So even when I start the chapter, she does not immediately start talking, because coma patients, they cannot immediately talk and don't have motor skills. So I had to learn this, and if you notice in the book, I have also mentioned muscle tears, about grades. So there are grades which I also learned very, not recently, I'd say, when I was writing the book in like last 3 years, that there are grades of tears that can happen in human body. So I had to constantly learn these things so that I could accurately depict them in the book. So yeah, it was very hectic to write about such a character that you cannot describe, but at the same time who's influenced so much by exterior things and exterior characters that it makes it a more beautiful chapter.
Moving to Sagar's characters from the novel, the protagonist Ayan. When I read the book, I thought that the circumstances faced by Ayan and his reactions to those circumstances were too realistic, unlike many other romance novels. So, what were your thoughts while reading that character?
I have to say, I love the cover.
The cover has been designed by Prachi and Anushka. So thanks to them. Video question. Since Ayan is a male character, I'm sorry. So I thought of relating every common man's problem here to Ayan. It's like it's not what Ayan faced in the book you have read it. It's not like every other man here faces the same problem. But you know there is always like a tendency that men don't cry, men don't have problems, men are strong. It's not like that. Men goes through a lot of, I would say, hormonal changes, both mental changes and emotional changes that develop his character throughout the life, which kind of impact his life to a greater extent. So, and roller coaster is a fictional tale it's a fictional romantic tale, but a romantic tale doesn't always have to be romantic. So it should also delve into other aspects of human life. So, yeah.
Yes, of course, the character of Ayan have this ability to make decisions. My next question is for you, Gordon. When I read the book, you have divided the chapters, named the chapters after some places or other things. So the places like the church or the park, what significance does those places hold in the book?
I believe the first chapter is called Hospital, and that is where our story starts, where our main character, who is nameless at the start, steals his doctor's names from Dr. Simon. He becomes Simon, and then he's like, I want to get out of here, and I want to explore. So, when I was studying about such cases, is that these people do not want to stay in the hospital at all. They want to get out as soon as possible because they are in a new situation, they are in a new scenario which they are unfamiliar with. And so he immediately gets out and is discharged. And then of course there's the park. Now the park was sort of like when I was writing this book, I had to find like a social setting where I could make Phil, the other character, meet Simon. So I thought to myself, and by far park seemed like the best situation to meet someone in. It's a nice place, it's a nice location, there's greenery, various activities that happen. So it's like a nice social setting. And then of course apartment is where Phil lives and Simon will live after, should I just call the ending? Yeah, no. Okay, so Simon will live there. And it's like a neutral setting where characters can stay because obviously they can't live at the hospital all the time. And so he lives in this neutral setting, which is the apartment. And you will see that the characters are like, they are not anxious or they are not angry when they are in their apartment state. They are calm, collected, all thoughts are visible, they are most raw. Then the church is where I try to throw in some controversial statements. I mean, they are not controversial here, it's like rebellion blowing up a church, but it's seen in today's modern world as well how much deep religious divide exists. So church was like this me throwing an arrow in the plot, and this is where like the story begins to take its turn, where you realize that there was a story before this one, and there are hosts in the church, there are people who interact with Simon who should not. And then from the church, once he falls down, gets injured, goes back to the hospital. So again, there's this repeating pattern of like plot constantly going back and forth from hospital. But the one person who like breaks this cycle that I usually don't find in such literature is Dr. Simon. He gives the odd advice to Simon: stop looking for your past, just move on and get a new life. Because if you he even makes this way, I have made sure that he makes this point because people would question me that why doesn't he look more deeper, why doesn't he go and try and find more clues about himself. The reason why he doesn't is because Dr. Simon makes a statement that nobody has come to claim you. Nobody from your past has inquired about you, made a report about you, about your description, and did not even find an ID on you. So when that happens, when nobody from your past is looking for you, why go to the past, right? So he gives up on the idea until Phil says those magical 5 words, and then he suddenly gets like a shock that, oh, I remember something. But then Phil collapses, and so then the confession, where it's like the most climax, where you realize who the ghost was, all the plot points, and then there's the final scene. And at the final scene, also to make sure that this has that satisfying ending that people are looking for, I made sure that the plot comes back to him. The epilogue tells how kind of a man Phil was, and how this story ends up making Simon the loneliest man, because now he has memories to look back on, and he, even though they are sad, he now has something to look back on.
The places are real or are they just fictional right from your mind?
Fictional, complete. They're complete fictional.
Do you see any relevance of your novella in the field of mental health?
Yeah, this was a question I was thinking a lot about. Since I refer to psychological journals and also medical institutes and their research when it comes comes to such studies, I was thinking, like previously I did not think that, oh, you can just study psychology of this. But then I see like the relevancy that it holds and how people who suffer from amnesia, they just cannot recollect or it takes them a long time. This particularly is a very like high level case where you cannot recollect anything. So it's completely fiction, but if you can make some study out of it, I would be really happy. Because it has its threads, you can say it has its connections to these psychological studies. But overall, the story is fiction, so I wouldn't say it has that much of a strong connection, but it is.
Okay, so moving on to Sagar again. Sagar, how much of your personal life is reflected in roller coaster? And do you draw from specific experiences or emotions? Answer only if you are comfortable.
It's not my autobiography. So, I have not, like, the book is not entirely based on my life. Even the kind of I am not based on it. But as they have asked the question of experiences and incidents, yeah, there are some incidents which I used in this novel, wherein I experienced it firsthand. Like, if you read the book, the beginning of the novel, there is a scene where I am shares, in I shares the story of the cat who I am. So the story of the cat, I listened from someone. I listened from someone, and I wrote it down here as you said, like have I read wrote it experiences. So this was one of the experience that the story of the cat that I listened to from one of my friends. I didn't list myself I am too, but yeah, I am at that point of time. So the library came from I am traveling from Kolkata to Pune Center. I was going to the top floor. Then that old lady at the top floor who just impressed everyone. This thing is everything is I would not say it's real, but I tried to make reality fiction and then this book. So there are some incidents in this center and the story of the cat.
And I could also see some relevancy in the setting because it sounds familiar to the Christians.
So yeah, the setting is like the places I have touched upon in this roller coaster of February, where I had completed my behavior, Then I also touched upon Panji, where I also used to go there in Central Avenue to write there. So if you're talking about setting, then we should be there. Or at least we should experience that place. Whether you're on your feet or whether you're on your bike or car, but you should experience that place. You should have a conversation with people, to better understand that place and to write it down. Because if you don't do that, we cannot feel what I want people to feel.
Your novel, Roller Coaster, seems to be touched upon some social issues. When I read it, I felt too. So, how do you think romance novels can be used to explore social issues?
That again brings me back to Arjuna, because there is upon such topics, you have read the guide. So it's not just about a romantic case between a guide and a dancer. It's also about social stereotypes that women are not allowed to dance, women are not allowed to take up a job, to take up the responsibility of the house and the job. So in this novel, I tried to inculcate such social issues such as male dominance, patriarchy, gender roles. So, and again, I would not say here because I will spoiler before here. In real life, when it comes to love, it's not just like a linear project. Like the couples have to go from here to here, here to here, and then you finally reach to point B. So that here to here, there lies the social issues. There lies social issues like caste, social issues like religion, social issues like class. So that is what I will say.
This question is for both of you. You spoke about some authors who inspired you. Could you just elaborate on that? Because what I feel is when a writer writes something, there is always something like if I'm writing a piece of work. So if I'm reading it, something clicks in my mind and I feel that yes, I want to write like this or write on this theme. So was there any specific piece of work that inspired you?
Well, there are many authors who influenced my life a lot. But when I was reading, I think it was Stranger by Amar Kama. I was reading that, and the very first line from that text, which was that mother died today, or was it yesterday, I believe. So those lines made me feel like this guy's such an absurd character, and like there are ways in which you can write characters, which I have previously noticed in Kafka, Dostoevsky, and even Shakespeare for that matter. There are so many unique ways in which you can write a character, but for him to not even care that his mother died was so absurd to me that I felt like I can do this. I can write a character even more absurd than this. What can I do? Then I thought. And then, of course, I was like thinking, oh, what if I just don't give him memories? So, completely made him like a blank page, and then like I literally suffered Simon so much that I felt bad for him at one point. I was like, yeah, Kafka also suffered, but not this much. But yeah, there are a lot of influences in my life who constantly inspire me to write more and more. Even the new book that I'm writing, 365 Days with You, there are a lot of other books that I'm reading who are influencing that book as well. Like I'm constantly thinking, how can I change this? This can give better nature point and everything. So when I read other books, I believe when I was writing Loneliest, when I was reading Stranger, I was not reading crime fiction. I was reading this War and Peace as well, and I was also reading a Shakespeare book. I believe it was Tragedy. Actually, Romeo and Juliet, the Tragedy. I was reading it for the third time, I believe, and so I was in that state of mind, like this loneliness that we feel, the tragedy that we experience, and if I leave questions unanswered, that is what makes people interpret the book more. So that's what I went for.
So it was the first novel that I finished reading from beginning to end and not dropping into the middle. So it has influenced me a lot in the second year. Then before writing this roller coaster, I read a novel by Haruki Murakami. It's called Loneliest. It's an adult fiction. So I decided to write an adult fiction based on this book. So and I read it before writing my novel because whenever if I read something while writing it, then it influences the writer's style, and I kind of merges into that writing style, which I'm the authors which I'm reading. So I really don't read much while writing my novel, but I do read before writing
advice would you like to give to your peers and the audience who want to pursue writing?
As a poetry page says, don't postpone writing, don't postpone. And don't procrastinate. Because when it comes to writing, it's different. Because once you lose that thing while writing, you lose it. It never comes back. And I would suggest one thing, that set a deadline for yourself. Because it is what I practice. If you set a deadline, it's like an internal motivation, it's like an internal pressure that you have on yourself itself. That you have on yourself. So that can work. And it depends on individuals. Every person has different strategies to go about. Right? But don't postpone, don't procrastinate, and don't hesitate to produce. That's what I would say. And if not, God is also rewarding until me right now. For my second book. So yeah, don't procrastinate. Just write it. Thank you.
Well, for me, it's completely different. Where I have to take rest. I've been advised because what happens is, even the new book that I'm writing, constantly, when I'm like in this flow of writing, I will go on for paragraphs and paragraphs, pages and pages. Currently, I was setting my deadlines, as you said. I was setting my deadlines to hit 30 pages, and I went on for 33, 35, like constantly going on stopping. And I reached this point where I exhausted myself so much that I could not even get a proper sleep, to be honest. So yeah, it's not just the fact that you shouldn't procrastinate, but at the same time you should know that you should stop, and then you have to take time to reflect. Because what I experienced, I constantly go through so many writer's blocks. So I would write for an entire month, and then I would get this massive writer's block where I would be completely without any ideas, and I would constantly curse myself why can't I write, and then yeah, that feeling sucks. So and then what the advice that I got from Shubham was that you have to read, and not read your stuff, read other what you like, but read other genres. Because when you read other genres, it opens up your mind to new possibilities, and then you can write a story better. And that was a really good advice. And I would also say read your favorite books. I constantly read my Shakespeare Bible, which has dates, and it constantly inspires me to write better, and also it improves my English as well. And yeah, reading really does help improve your English and improve your vocabulary a lot. And so, just not writing, I would say, but also reading. And when it comes to publishing, I believe that finding the right publishers for you and your budget is very important. I did not find a writer's pocket immediately, I would say. I finished writing The Loneliest Man in 2022, I believe. I finished writing it, all of it was done, and I kept it as a draft on Wattpad so I could get feedback. And after I got feedback, I made the necessary changes. Then suddenly out of nowhere on Instagram, while I was looking for publishers, there were 3 names that came. I believe one was Blue Rose Publishing, Orange House something, and the other one was Writer's Pocket. And I saw Writer's Pocket had this anthology challenge that they have, where you submit your work, and if it gets accepted, you get published in an anthology. And this seemed too good to be real, I'm going to be honest. So I sent 5, and I sent 5 poems, and I was like, let's see what happens. 2 of them got accepted, and I was like, then they sent me the form. I did my payment, and then there was this other option that said publish my book, and it was really affordable and it was really nice. And they personally, I have even mentioned these people in my acknowledgement. I personally told them, please write your names. So the writers pocketing Manshi, Kushi, Kunal, Mahek, Mohit, Krishma, all of these people, they constantly were in touch with me. So this is a really nice thing that I loved from Writers Pocket and their WhatsApp group. They made different groups, for the book cover, for the editorial work, and to have me on one-on-one conversations to make sure that I agree 24/7 contact with them, and they worked really hard. I could make out with the editing team as well that there were so many changes that were necessary so that it was more user friendly and it's not heavy on the language. So they were constantly making changes. Another criticism that I got was like I did not know how to structure my dialog boxes. So this was a criticism that was given to me very early on. And so there was this, I believe it was page 36, where Simon and Phil are talking on for a big paragraph. It's really big. And so I was like, I have to reduce, I have to extend this. And then the book example that was given to me was The Interpreter of Melodies by Jhumpa Lahiri. And she structured her dialogue boxes one line after another, leaving a space. So I was like, I can do that. That's flexible. And what it did was that entire big paragraph, like a big chunk, an entire page, got divided into 3 pages of dialogue sentence. So that was really good and it made it more reader friendly. So publishing houses really help you if you pick the correct one and you pick the one that really like maintains contact with you, is in touch with you. I'm really looking into more publishing houses for my next book as well. As I told this one, that we should not stop at one, of course. We should constantly look for more and more publishers and constantly looking to experiment, to write more. And so yeah, don't stop at it, that's the only criticism, but also know when to rest.
I hope they'll incorporate this in their writing process. Can I ask you both to read a paragraph from your book? The paragraph which will not give spoilers, of course. Any one that you like.
I like when if you had asked me about my writing process, I would have told you that I do not think of the beginning or the introduction first. I directly go for the ending. So when this is like a criticism that I found from many writers. They're like, oh, we struggle to think of the ending. Where do we want to take the story? No, reverse engineer it. You think of the ending first. Okay, how you want this book to end. You make a circle around it in your mind. And you're like, okay, this is how the book should end. And then you start drawing lines, like all plot actions, introduction, plot action, climax, end. So the entire story will revolve around your end. And this is something that I believe I managed to do from the very prologue itself. So I read my prologue here because these are like the first thoughts that I got in 2020. Okay? So who would be called a lonely man? Is it the one that has lost everyone he knew and loves? Or is it the one who has lost all his memories, emotions, feelings, and is slowly descending into a slow, dark place? It has always intrigued me that anyone can be lonely, isolated with their own thoughts and feelings. The only difference that stands is whether the person who is left alone enjoys his or her own company, or is so full of self-hatred that they believe they are not meant to be loved or even meant to be understood by others. Here I present such a man whose origin, though questionable, is one that can raise interest. The steps he takes, the people he meets, and the situation that he finds himself in may result in his happiness or loneliness. But then again, his previous story was written but now forgotten due to some mysterious circumstances. This is his story, starting from the middle of his recovery. And that's how the story starts.
I have to read something. I stood in front of the table and before I asked, I saw her. Her eyes locked in a state of thought. I looked at her side. I saw him. I need him too. How could I forget this? He was the. I used some languages which I cannot use. He was the one who. Anyway, I couldn't ask, what are your orders? Because for me, I was known. Why did we meet here of all places? Forget about this, but by law, I pulled myself back and hurried to the kitchen. I drank some water, cooled myself down, and went again as if they both were strangers to me, especially her. Hello, sir and madam, what do you want to order? No masala dosa, he said with a cold look on me. Wish I could snatch those eyeballs of yours. came all the way here so that I can be away from my past. I looked at them. They were having some serious chat. I wonder if it's about me. I was sweating like a pig. It was awful. The waiter who was passing by looked at me. Bro, are you fine? Drink this water. He said with concern. Thank you. And I gulped it as fast as I could. The order was ready and so I served it and said, tell me if you need something. No reply came. I stood beside the counter because the customer whom I saw earlier was about to finish his tea. I kept myself busy so that I couldn't see her, but the curiosity of looking at her to see her beauty overpowered me. Her hair looked as soft and elegant as they were before. She did put up much weight at all. Yes, she's like she was before, except for her eyes. Her eyes looked pale, dull, and lifeless. I hope she is okay. She's 20 and I feel sorry for myself that I'm not the one who is beside her. Suddenly she looked at me. I couldn't move my eyeballs. As we continued piercing ourselves into each other's eyes, she went. I'm sure she remembered our past. An intense urge of going there and hugging her surged into me. But someone else was undergoing the urge of putting hands on me. He stood up from his seat, coming to me. My eyes were so much fixated on her that I came back to my senses after he came and slapped me. It's because of you that she is crying. Why do you have to work here? I mean, why are you even working? Just disappear and let her live in peace. Just die and slap me again. To be honest, the slap did hurt. He was the same person who threw punches on me 2 years ago. It takes too much of cruelness to say it's because of you that she is crying wherein it's the same person who's saying this. He turned around, he went and get hold of her hand like she belongs to him. He paid the bill with their unfinished food and left the hotel along with her. It hurts because she belongs to me. I already created a promotion. People were staring at me. I was sure that my owner was mad at me, but somehow he waved his hand to come near me and whispered, don't worry about me in the promotion. It did make a loss to my business, except a little tension in the air. It's 6:15. Still 15 minutes left for your shift to end, but now you can go home and take your mind out of business. Start a fresh day tomorrow. I bowed politely and thanked him for his kindness.